Hello and welcome back for this second video on work. We're going to have a look at the present situation and today's issues. A few main issues I would like to focus on today. The first one being unemployment. Since the global financial crisis that started in 2008 in the US with what was called the subprime crisis, the unemployment rates have soared in the US. Not many countries were spared, except Australia, for instance, which relies a lot on its mining sector and its exportations to maintain its economy. But the USA was deeply hit. In November 2009, for example, the unemployment rate was of 10.2% in the US, a rise from 4.6% in 2007. So in 2 years, you could see the unemployment rate had more than doubled. It was the highest in 26 years and the worst since the Great Depression of the 1930s. Now, today, in 2015, the unemployment rate is back to almost normal. It's at around 5.5%. In France, which was hit also by the global financial crisis, as you know, the unemployment rate is still high at around 10% in 2014, and it was about 7% before the crisis hit. So you see, unemployment is a main concern since the turn of 2008. Another important concern and issue of the present time is globalization in general, and especially relocations and outsourcing. I talked about blue-collar jobs in the previous video, and I told you that indeed blue-collar jobs have been offshored. That is to say, they have been sent to emerging countries, developing countries. They have been relocated. Why? Because in those emerging countries, the labor force is cheap, it's less paid, there are less rules that dominate the world of work, and there is a large amount of unskilled workers that can be hired, even exploited. So the industrial production collapsed in the Western world and was relocated to those developing countries. What is left in the Western world is mostly qualified tertiary service jobs. So there is a high need for university degrees, as I said before in the previous video, to find a secure, well-paid job. A consequence of also the rise of unemployment is the fact that more and more workers need to work part-time, are only offered part-time jobs, and therefore need to work, to have several jobs. Mostly women, who are involved in this part-time working. It's not always by choice. It's because sometimes they don't have the choice. Employers only offer them part-time work because, as you may know, women still have nowadays, for the most part, this double shift, what is called the double shift. That is to say, the 2 days of the women workers. First, they work at their paid job, and then when they go home, they have to take care of the children, etc., etc. So this means that they have to be available for their children if the husband doesn't take care of them, and it means that often employers only offer them part-time work because they suppose that they are going to need free time to take care of their children. But not only women are concerned by that, more and more men, especially in the US, are concerned by that. You may have heard in the years 2014 and 2015 in the US of the big, massive strike of fast food workers for the implementation of a minimum wage. There was no minimum wage in this sector, and so therefore many fast food workers have gone on strike and have led a successful fight to gain a minimum wage in different states of the US. People often think that fast food workers are students working aside university to pay for their studies. It's far from the case in the US. For many people, it's their main and only job. what is the role of government today? There are two options for government in terms of policies. They can implement what is called a welfare society, a society that intervenes in the economy, that makes sure that wealth is redistributed equally, or ideally equally, among the workers and the citizens. A welfare government is a government that provides healthcare for its citizens, that provides pensions, that provides unemployment benefits, a little bit like France, if you like. This term, welfare, and this type of society was invented after the Second World War in the UK. In fact, it all started in the UK, which is far from that kind of society now. But France has kept this tradition working. Many countries, the UK, the US, have moved to a workfare society. With, for example, Clinton and the Republican Congress in the 1990s, and Tony Blair at the end of the 1990s in the UK, which means that you have to work to earn benefits, and if you don't work, you have no benefits at all. You have to find a new job, and it's your responsibility to find a new job, to have saved money in case you are unemployed, to have saved money for your retirement, to have saved money in case you are sick and you cannot work, etc., etc. So there's a move from a welfare society to what is called a workfare society. More individualism, if you like. Another issue, very important issue of today's world of work is, again, we're going to talk about women, is what is called the glass ceiling. The glass ceiling is a metaphorical ceiling, transparent. So it's a metaphorical boundaries that women in companies cannot cross. That is to say that many women do not have access to highly qualified, highly paid, and high responsibility jobs in large companies. Why? Because most of the time their employers don't really trust them, because they think, okay, maybe she's going to have a baby, she's going to leave the company for a few months, and she's going to need maternity pay, maternity leave. Maybe she will ask to get out of work early to pick up her children from school, etc., etc. Maybe she'll stay home when a child is sick. So women are kept in the junior jobs of corporations usually, and not many women have access to boards of directors and are directors of large companies. Also, this glass ceiling has to do with gender inequality in terms of pay, of what is called the gender pay gap. Even though there are laws that are providing rules for equal pay, women are still paid less, on average 25%, in the private sector than men. So what is the solution to that? There are many ways of seeing the problem. There are many debates around this idea. Some people think that quotas should be implemented. That is to say, for example, Norway, the country Norway, in 2008 decided that 40% of women should be at high-level jobs, should be on corporate boards, etc., etc. It was the first. Then followed Spain, Italy, the Netherlands, countries like Malaysia, Brazil, the UK, Australia, and Sweden have chosen to threaten the companies that didn't regulate themselves, but there's no quotas as such yet. In France, the aim is to have 40% of women CEOs and on the board of directors by 2017. It's the same problem that was encountered previously and still today also with the integration of ethnic minorities in the workforce, the representation of ethnic minorities to fight against discrimination. Again, in the US, the government chose to implement quotas. At universities, for example, quotas of Black, Hispanic women students, in big companies, on TV, for example, in advertising, etc., etc. This policy is called affirmative action. In French, it's called discrimination positive. There are pros and cons. The cons often say that it's unfair to the white population or to the main population, because if you're white and you're qualified, you may not get a job because the quota hasn't been fulfilled and they need more black Latino women workers. Some other thinks that women, black people, Latino people do not need quotas, that they will make their way through society and we just have to wait for the mentalities to change. But the pros are, well, if the society cannot regulate itself, if the companies cannot regulate themselves, the government has to do something and create laws to implement quotas. Another important factor today, an important concern today, is the brain drain. This has to do with relocation, but not exactly in the same way. The brain drain is when people from, for example, a developing country go study in a Western country and then stay in this country to work. And therefore, the country of origin does not have the high-skilled workers that it needs to develop itself. Also, the brain drain is very present in Western countries, from one Western country to the other. For example, you may know around you someone who has gone to study in the US or to work in the US. Many engineers do that, or to other countries like China, like the Arab countries, the United Emirates, etc., etc. So there is a lot of movement, and this is called brain drain, when the brains, the people who are educated and qualified, leave their country to go to another country. And this also creates a tension on the world of work, because the migrant workers who come to the Western countries are often more motivated and are ready to work for less, because they will be paid more than if they had stayed in their country of origin anyway. So they are willing to work harder for less money, which creates tensions in the world of work in the Western countries. So this is it for today's issues overview, quick overview of the issues at stake today. Let's have a look now at the future of work.